Hey, it's Mr. Malte. Today we are going to look at maps and MyMaps specifically. Joining me today is my friend, Miss Iverson,
Hello, hello.
who's somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. I'm in Edmonton. I think I took that picture. Where was I?
Very nice. What a beautiful river valley.
Yeah, I love the river valley. So we're going to look at this map and a whole bunch of maps. And first, I have a question for you that as a class you can pause and you can think about. Which do you think is bigger, Greenland or Africa? Miss Iverson?
Looking at the map,
cookie. Looking at the map,
I would say they're pretty equal and they're probably pretty close in size.
you would think, right?
Totally.
What do you think? Maybe pause, take a vote. The answer may surprise you. So what's interesting is I've drawn the outline of Greenland and I've drawn the outline of Africa. But if I grab Greenland and drag it around and I drag it down to the equator, boop, it is actually quite small. You'd fit probably 7 or 8 Greenlands inside of Africa. Just kind of mind-blowing.
That's not what the map shows us, though.
Exactly. And so it's kind of interesting. The reason for this is because, we live on a sphere, despite the fact that there are some people with not a lot between the ears that believe that we live on a flat earth. We do not. That's just a fact. And the first mathematicians who were trying to rectify, like, how do I make this look okay flat on a piece of paper, like on a map? They used math, and there's a bunch of different projections. And one of these people was Gerardus Mercator. The Mercator projection is the one that we use. And basically, the closer you are to the equator, the more it's the actual shape of an object, and the farther away, the more it stretches out until you get to infinity. So if I take a country like Africa and I move it up, or a continent, not a country, it gets stretched exponentially, and things get very strange. So we think of Canada as being really big, and it is, but here's a website called The True Size Of. If I go to this and I type in Canada, and I even spell it right, if I take Canada and I drag it down, it gives you some perspective of how big a country like Brazil might be if we were up where we are. Like, Canada is not as big as we think it is. And if you take India, we're like, oh, India's small. Is it? If you were to drag India up over top of Canada, look at the space that it takes up. Or China or Russia or these countries that are far north, they seem vastly bigger. And even Australia, we're going to take Australia, kind of move it up. Australia is almost as big as the United States. There's Australia over top of Canada. There's Australia over top of the United States. Like, they're almost the same in size. It's very close. Wild, right? So this is a flat map, and we have to take that into account. I just always like showing that. The old Mercator projection. The true size of things is deceiving. But we're not doing that stuff for our actual project. We are doing the regions of Canada. So I'm going to stop sharing. That's my little intro, some crazy map stuff. Ms. Iverson, do you have your stuff ready to rock and roll?
Yeah. So we're going to start off in MyMaps, just like Mr. Malte was doing. He was in MyMaps. So here we go. We're going to start by just creating a new map.
Yeah. So, and you can get there. How'd you get there? You can get
there. So you can go to your drive and you can click on New, and you can go down and then click on MyMaps, and boom, you will be in MyMaps here.
Perfect.
Boom. And you'll see that same map that Mr. Malte was showing you. And we want to title it because untitled maps are no good. So we're going to call this Regions of Canada. And we're just going to save that. Boom. Now we know what it is. So when we go back to our drive, we can actually find it again. And what we're going to do is actually find Canada first. That's an important part. And we're actually going to learn how to use the shapes tool to draw lines and create a shape around the region. So I'm going to pick the Atlantic region. And there's this hand tool up here that's really important.
Grab and grab.
So you can drag yourself around so you can see. And we kind of want to zoom in a little bit. And I can use the zoom features or the scrolling mouse or your pincher fingers on the trackpad if you want to use that.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to want to click on draw line. And I don't want a driving route. I want a biking route. I want to just add a line or a shape.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I found if you accidentally add one of those other routes, you have to delete them to get back to the layer that you want to.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you might have to.
Okay, yeah.
You might have to delete that layer to.
And to delete, you click these 3 dots and can delete layer.
Perfect.
Really, I want to delete it. All right, so I'm going to click here. I'm going to add line or shape. Now we know the Atlantic region has Newfoundland, a little bit of Quebec, and I'm just going to drop it there. And then the line continues. I'm going to drop it out in the Atlantic Ocean. I'm just going to zoom up, and I'm going to make a little rectangular box here. And I'm going to label this Atlantic region. And you can add a whole bunch of descriptions. You can add an image. So if I click on that image, I can go to Google Images. I'm going to look up Prince Edward Island because that's part of the Atlantic region. And I'm going to choose this beautiful photo here. And I'm going to click Insert. Now I have this beautiful photo here. I can click Save. Okay, so now I have it outlined, but it's not really totally correct. So I want to do some adjusting because this part here isn't actually part of the Atlantic region. So I'm actually going to click on it. Whoa. And I click on my bot. And there's these dots here. And I'm going to actually bring it in a little bit. And when I get that dot, I get another one. And I'm going to, oh, this island is also part of it. And I'm just going to keep adjusting so that all of, whoa, and sometimes that will happen and you just need to click the X, drag it around so that I have not the United States, I want New Brunswick part of it, and I'm going to outline it there. So now that I have the Atlantic region, okay, I can also go up into my tools here where it's in the layers and I can change the color of the region, so that I can see it better. Maybe I want to make it yellow. Or orange so I can see it nice and clearly. And if I zoom out on my map, I can see that nice and clearly.
Looks awesome. And you could change the border width. You can change how transparent it is.
Yeah, and I really like this base map because it's really a lot easier to see. If you do click on base map and you change it to the satellite, you can also use that one as well. It's nice and clear there. So now that I have my Atlantic region, I actually want to see this on Google Earth.
Okay. So a student would go through and you can do all the regions based on your text. So we're doing the Arctic, we're doing the prairies, we're doing the Cordillera. And once we're done, all of our regions, we're ready to rock and roll. And just try to get frustrated with those little outlines. You can make, just like Ms. Iverson did, sort of just a square and then click and just move then your new anchor points, and move those anchor points. I love that it creates brand new anchor points for you. You can move the whole shape. That's so great.
Yeah, you can adjust it however you need.
Yeah.
So like Ms. Malate said, you're going to do all of the regions. So your map will be nice and colorful. And that's why you need to change the color because you're going to need different colors for different regions.
Yeah.
And
so let's say we have all that. Do we want to add any other icons or anything within each region?
Ooh. Actually, yeah. Why don't we add something about the resources? So we know fishing is a big resource in the Atlantic region. So I'm going to click Add Marker. And I can place that anywhere here. I'm going to place it here.
Perfect.
And I'm going to type in fishing.
Nice.
And I could add in a description. Cod fishing is an important part of the Atlantic region. I can click an image. I can add a Google image. I can type in fishing for cod, let's say. There's going to be lots of different images.
Oh, I like that old one. That first one is great.
Oh, yeah, that one. And I just have to insert.
Boom.
Now I'm going to hit save. And you can add another image, I think. If you
want videos, but probably images is good. You could, but I wouldn't do it for this, but yeah.
And it will give you these options now at the bottom here. And there's this color. So I can actually change the color so that each of my icons is different. So if I had cod fishing here, I can change the color there. And if I had another icon, what else is important in the Atlantic region, Mr.
There's
Malte?
forestry in New Brunswick, for example.
Forestry. Okay, so we're going to go to New Brunswick. We're going to do forestry. Oops, if I could spell it correctly. And I'm going to save it. And I'm going to change the color to green because forestry reminds me of greens. And I can also change the icon here as well. I could put maybe tree.
Yep.
There we go.
Boom.
And there. Yeah.
So good.
Let's go back and change this one. So I can click on it.
Will you find a fish?
I'm going to click edit.
Boat.
Oh, need to go. Oh, I clicked on the wrong part there.
Yeah.
Where do I want to go?
Style. Paint can. Paint can. Paint can.
Paint can. There we go.
Yeah.
And then more icons. I'll type in fish. Oops.
Fish.
Fish. Boom.
Oh, nice. You even have a fish.
There you go. And maybe I'm going to make
cool.
this blue so it's a little bit easier to see. Yeah, so there are my icons. You'll also see them pop up under here and see them there.
Yeah.
And if I don't like this base map, I can always go back to my other one.
Now, you could do all of those regions on one layer, but you could add another layer and do your other region. That might be a better idea, so you can toggle them off and on. I guess it's up to the teachers and students how they want to do that.
And you just click up at the top here, add layer, to add it in.
So you could have all of them as a layer or just an individual one where you highlight. So I guess it's really a decision.
And anytime you want to get rid of a layer or rename it, you can just click on it and there you go.
Beautiful.
Now, if you want to take this to another level, not a flat level, but a global level, you can go up to these three dots at the top where you have your title, and you can actually view in Google Earth. So we're going to click on that. We're going to take a adventure to Google Earth. I love how long it takes to load.
Whoa, it's so fast now.
Yeah. And it will zoom you right in to Google Earth. Now, if I zoom out, and obviously I would have all of the regions completed, you would see all the regions of Canada right here, ready to go.
And if you press present, what does that look like?
Oh, there you go.
Oh, cool. You only have one layer, but I imagine your table of contents would expand to have different layers on there.
Yeah, and I see that this is untitled, so I can actually go back to my tab here and change it to Atlantic region, and then do that again, and then go back to my Google Earth, and hopefully I can change that title as well.
Awesome. That looks great. You don't have to look at it in Earth, but that sure is another cool added feature of that. So that is MyMaps. You could do it for so many things. You could do it for a province and a bunch of resources in there. You could do it for regions. Maybe your students are still struggling with the provinces and naming all the provinces of Canada and territories of Canada. Maybe you want to just outline them just to remember where they are. Take your time. Sometimes drawing those shapes can be frustrating. It's not always as easy as Miss Iverson showed us, but the great thing is just make it sort of look like it, and then just use the draggy of the anchor points, the draggy drag of the anchor points, just to make your other anchor points that you can always have infinite adjustments. So that's easier than like trying to really be specific at first. MyMaps, a nice, cool way to make a project with maps.
Try it out.
Try it out. What could go wrong? Good luck, folks.
There we go. Done.